welcome back to the hotchaipod. I'm your host, Jazz, and we're getting into the nitty gritty of Bollywood updates this week. But first, let's do our little catch up. So, this weekend, I was up in Northern California for a family event, more specifically, an uncle's 70th birthday party. By the sound of it, I didn't expect that it would get so fun, but I should have known better. You know how at some events or weddings they give such serious speeches that can kind of make or break the vibe? I felt that there was that potential here, but to be honest, everyone rallied. Also, it didn't hurt that a couple of us kept sneaking off to the DJ to have him play some actual bangers instead of these old Rishi Kapoor songs, and yeah, not that I mind it, but you either lose the older crowd when you sneak in like too much EDM and rap, or you lose the younger crowd. Between the two, so we got to keep it fresh, keep it modern, and keep it Indian. So he did do that, and it went on for hours, and yeah, my feet were pretty much done by the end of the night. So well worth it. And let's see, next day, there was a lot of buzz about the cricket match between India and Pakistan in New York. So I actually wanted to go to that event, but the tickets were just so crazy. And I think they sold out like as soon as they went online. To watch it, it was like 7:30 in the morning here. Your girl was half alive, but I was keeping updated on my phone. And I don't even know why that is. It's not like I'm a cricket fan. I just, even us NRIs, like we get so tribal about an India Pakistan match. And of course, it's even better when India wins, which, it did. So that was quite the great victory. And yeah, I would have loved to be in New York for that in retrospect, but whatever. I still cheered on from afar. There were some notable faces in the crowd: Zarna Garg, the comedian, Cal Penn, ultimate highlight, AP Dillon performing Brown Munde. Not that he's so amazing when he sings live, but that's a song that gets both sides going. Dive into the hot chai topics. Today we're kicking off with the Nawab himself, Saif Ali Khan. So, in 2005, Saif Ali Khan snagged a national award for Hum Tum, that movie with him and Rani Mukherjee. And there was a big controversy over it because in the same year, Shah Rukh Khan had his performance in Swades, which was, more critically acclaimed, even though it wasn't a huge blockbuster. And this story of Swades and Shah Rukh and the village and the children not having a school or whatever was a lot more intense than Hum Tum, which was basically like a rom-com, and it was just spanning like a decade before they get together. And yes, there were some touching moments, but it wasn't the most moving thing I'd ever seen. So ever since Safe won that award, the national award, right, which a lot of prestige, it's been in the whispers, and especially more as of late with the nepotism debate, that his mom, Sharmila Tagore, pulled some strings since she was the CBFC chair back then, at the time that he won this. And the CBFC is the Central Board of Film Certification. So she's the chair, he wins this, but Saif has recently been in the news and he's been adamant that she had no influence on this award. He said that Sudhir Mishra, who was the jury head, gave it to him for his quote, and this is his quote, ease of performance. I mean, like I said, I loved the movie when I watched it, but I wouldn't have given him. He's playing a commitment phobic playboy. That I don't think that deserved a national award over the story about rural schools in India. I think that's why it's so hard for many people to not think that Saif's mom had some influence on him winning, but weirder things have happened. I will let you be the judge. Next piece, Chai, next cup of chai. Are we hearing wedding bells? Well, there has been some chatter that Sonakshi Sinha and Zahir Iqbal are reportedly getting hitched on June 23rd, so in about 10 days, right around the corner. They've been keeping their romance pretty low key, and nobody's commented on this potential wedding in their families, but that's been pretty standard for Bollywood weddings lately. But word on the street is that the date is set. Now, I have to be honest, I had never really heard of Zahir personally. So I did some research, and it looks like back in 2019, Zahir made his Bollywood debut with the film Notebook, which was produced by Salman Khan. So he comes from a non-film background, but his father, Iqbal Ratansi, so obviously Zahir changed his name, or I don't know. His father is a jeweler and a close friend of Salman Khan. So this helped him get a break, get his foot in the door with the industry. Interestingly enough, Salman Khan also helped launch Sonakshi herself with Dabang in 2010. So these two met while filming Double XL, which I don't think saw any commercial success. I'm gonna have to check this out now. So, I mean, it would be interesting if they've been dating for the last years, like, what, 10 years? And now you're getting married? Couldn't be me and shouldn't be you. Let that be a lesson. But maybe not. Maybe they were off and on. Maybe they just were friends. I bet if they get married, then we'll get more of the full picture like we did with Vicky and Katrina. We also just got a trailer for the new film, Kalki 2898 AD, which is releasing on June 27th. So the film stars Prabhas, Telugu actor, alongside Amitabh Bachchan, Deepika Padukone, and Disha Patani. It's supposed to be billed as an Indian epic dystopian science fiction action film. Like, that's a mouthful. But people can't tell if Deepika is playing Disha's mom or something, or maybe her mentor, but that would be kind of a weird avatar for her because they're not that far apart in age. So we'll circle back to see after the release on this. Hopefully, it's an entertainer. I'm rooting for it. And speaking of other upcoming releases, we are also getting closer to the release of Karthik Aryan's new movie, Chandu Champion. That's coming out in a few days. And with that, he's been on a press tour, of course, and a few things caught my eye. Per usual, he was vague in addressing his beef with Karan Johar. Now, famously, the two were supposed to work together on Dostana too, and then that fell through. I've heard various rumors from the idea that Karan Johar was making Janvi Kapoor's role in the film more important than Karthik's, to Karthik charging too high of a fee. Either way, Karthik has made it well known that Keijo tried to sabotage him after they fell out, which was especially hard for him as an outsider. But it does seem that they've made up since then, and I think he always gets asked about it by interviewers because we actually still don't know what happened. So it's a mystery. But what's not a mystery is all of the many Bollywood ladies that Karthik Aryan has dated and we've talked about here. But that roster, it includes Sara Ali Khan, Janvi Kapoor, and Ananya Pandey. He said that he's been unlucky in love, which is funny, but he partly blames that on becoming an actor. And he says when you become an actor, the dating pool shrinks, which, like, it sounds the opposite of what we as normies would expect, right? You'd think, oh, now he can date anyone he wants, but maybe he means it becomes weird for him to date a non film person because they could be like a fan and the dynamic gets a little strange. And obviously, he's not going to be on Tinder, though he could be on Raya and he could meet like models or something. So, someone invite him on to Raya, yeah? But I have noticed that actors like to marry other actors, and maybe that's why in Bollywood and even Hollywood, they just keep it in the same circle. And I'm sure it's also nice to have that in common because it's such a unique job to be a film star, right? So someone else who just kind of gets it makes life easier. The crazy filming schedules, being in the news, presenting being a couple as like a brand. There are those who have to, so that does make sense on that side, but there are actors who haven't gone down that path, like John Abraham. He actually, funny story, married one of my family friends' daughter. So, my family's friend's daughter, who was from Los Angeles as well. And my aunt was like at the wedding, which I was so jealous about. I was not there. I couldn't break in, couldn't pretend to be a catering waiter or something. But yeah, I noticed that you never really see John and his wife, I think her name's Priya, out as a couple really since they got married. And maybe that's the life he wanted, something just very low key. Though I'll say it. It kind of hurt his publicity and his star power because now we don't see him in anything, which is sad for me because I was a huge fan and I really enjoyed seeing him on screen. Rounding out the gossip for the week, we finally got a few glamour shots of some celebs from the trip to Italy. This includes Janvi Kapoor and Alia Bhatt's outfit close ups, and they were both disappointing to say the least. Alia wore this suit and not like Punjabi suit, but like jacket with like a bikini top that matched, and then these wide legged pants and Sabyasachi belt. And these looks do nothing for her. She's so petite, right? She's a tiny girl. And she ends up putting out these like photoshopped and edited photos of these outfits for all occasions. And these are fake news. Because when you see the videos of her in these outfits, they either look awkward or weirdly proportioned or something's off. And I'll say the same for her face tuning. It's unnecessary. Like, girl, we can see what you look like in an interview or in candid pictures from any event. So I'm not sure why she always tries to post like these sultry, sculpted, like, high cheekbones vibe photos because I hate to say it, so many people say it. It's giving off like Deepika vibes with the way that she edits it to make it look all bronzed and sculpted and modelly. Like even her short haircut, I'm going to say it. It's quite the copy. But we'll dive into all that kind of behavior another time. Her hubby was photographed as well, Mr. Ranbir Kapoor, drinking what was obviously alcohol. Like, do we care? Well, I don't. I don't. But don't start putting out stories about being all pious and giving up alcohol and giving up meat to play Lord Ram for the Ramayana. It's just such a tactic. It's for him to appeal to the mass audience, but like who's really buying it? Obviously, some people had an issue with him being cast in this to begin with because they found like I think we talked about it here, they found his off-screen behavior is not godly enough to justify playing Lord Ram. But then again, who would qualify because these are actors and they're not holy men? But maybe a younger, fresher face would have been cuter in the role. At the same time, would it have been as appealing for a big budget film? Now that I'm not sure about. Can a fresh face really carry what is supposed to be this like epic film with a huge budget? Back to his drinking, which has been a source of much speculation in the past, I will say, even from his friends who've mentioned it on Coffee with Karan, or just stories of the Kapoor clan, or even in photos from different parties where he looks like he's so out of it, he's wearing his sunglasses inside. Like, yeah, that man was definitely not giving up his drinking. Let's be For real, all of us. And for today's teacup time, we're going to do a little throwback hot take. In the past few years, there's been a lot of discourse that certain Bollywood movies are problematic in retrospect, which I already think is a weird way to dissect any old art, like you're looking at it through the lens of the modern era. And we have to appreciate that it was a product of its time, even if we find it so cringeworthy now. One example of this, famously or infamously, is Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Even Karan Johar has tried to address how people think the film has, quote, aged. And the main point of contention, and spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, that's on you. It's been long enough. Plot point is Shah Rukh's character is choosing Rani Mukherjee's hot new girl on campus instead of his best friend played by Kajol, who's more of a tomboy. And that Shah Rukh only falls in love with Kajol, aka Anjali, when he sees her glow up. Years later, he sees her in a sari with long hair. Hot take. He had friend zoned her. And he thought she had friend zoned him. Hello, they're buddies, they're in college, they're wearing these matching weird clothes, playing sports, joking around. So why would he suddenly look at her romantically? Like, most people don't do that with their friends. So obviously, she was fronting the whole time because she was obviously into him and just pretending she wasn't. So of course, he's interested in the new girl at school who he hasn't friend zoned or been friend zoned by. So for the haters who say, oh, he's just interested because in Anjali, when he sees her how many years later, he's interested in her because she's more feminine looking, is that so wrong? Don't we all have a type? Plus, he'd now been through the trauma of losing his wife and becoming a single dad. Maybe he just felt something strong and stirring and like emotional to see his close friend or, his former close friend after all that time. And it didn't hurt that she had embraced her hotter side. Hello. That's how she was engaged to Salman Khan's character. Obviously, it was her glow up. I didn't see her being chased by any guys in the college scenes. And look, maybe she just wasn't putting out those vibes then, which is how she got friend zoned in the first place. So, yes, okay, that was a circle. You see how I went in a circle, but my hot take, again, is that the movie is not problematic at all, even by today's standards. Except maybe, I don't know, problematic, but just kind of wild that Ronnie's character is writing these very adult letters to her super young daughter. Her daughter's like, what, 8 years old? And she's like, go find this woman and get him remarried. Like, it's a lot of pressure. She couldn't have written that to Shah Rukh's mom? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it just a few people trying to make everyone feel bad about the past? Or was the criticism of the film legitimate? You let me know in the comments. And on that note, follow the podcast on Spotify or Apple. Definitely follow along on Instagram and YouTube. It's posted there weekly. And with that, I will sign off until next week. Bye.